streets ready for the fight. Voices loud, they take the stand. Who will lead the promised land? Promises flying, hearts ignite. Truth and lies will take the mic. The clock is ticking, make your choice. Who you hear, the people's voice. It's in the ballot, it's in your hand. The future's calling, take a stand. One vote, one dream, one destiny. Who will wear the crown in 2025? We'll see. Words are weapons wielded, strong debates get heated. Right or wrong, they paint the town with visions bold. Who will rise, who will fold? Shadows linger, truth will stand. The battle rages from within. One by one they state their case, but only one can win this race. Who will lead this, win this race? It's in the ballot, it's in your hand. The future's calling, take a stand. One vote, one dream, one destiny. Who will wear the crown in 2025? We'll see. We'll see. Promises flying, hearts ignite. Truth and lies will take a mic. The clock is ticking, make your choice. Will you hear the people's voice? It's in the ballot, it's in your hand. The future's calling, take a stand. One vote, one dream, one destiny. Who will wear the crown in 2025? We'll see. Words are weapons wielded, strong debates get heated. Right or wrong, they paint the town with visions bold. Who will rise, who will fold? Shadows linger, truth will stand. The battle rages from within. One by one they state their case, but only one can win this race. Who will lead this, win this race? It's in the ballot, it's in your hand. The future's calling, take a stand. One vote, one dream, one destiny. Who will wear the
Okay, good evening, everybody. Tonight, these candidates are vying to become the mayor of the Kapiti Coast, but with every election, there's one thing stepping in their way, and that's your vote. And the opening credits. On the stream deck. And welcome to today's It's in the Ballot show, coming here from the Kapiti Impact Hub, or should we say our Parapromo It's in the Ballot home. How are all our candidates tonight?
Fantastic. Thanks.
Very good, thank
Excellent.
you.
We're all wearing longs. What about you?
Oh, I'm doing a Mark Richardson. You know, the guy who looks, what do you call it, good under there and then shorts and jandals underneath the table.
Yeah, I think the audience want you to stand
Literally.
up.
Quite literally.
Just stand a little bit. Come on. Stand up. We're about to reveal ourselves. Why won't you?
Oh, I'm not the one carpet bagging, living in Newtown, trying to become the mayor of the Kapiti Coast. And I'd like to also introduce to our host, normally known as Tenika Kabushia, if you watch the TV show It's in the Bag, but we've got Nick Hollander. How's everything going down there, Nick?
We have a great audience tonight. Thank you very much.
I know. They clap very well.
My mic sounds pretty loud. Is that all good?
I'm sure if we'll have complaints from somewhere, but they can sit there and go to the Broadcasting Standards Authority.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get off to our candidates' opening statements. Camera will be better on me. Oh, okay. That's one that works. Kim, you get to get the your 1 minute opening statement on why you should become the mayor of the Kapiti Coast. And please stay seated so we make it easier for Henry.
Yeah, for training purposes.
Yeah, because Henry's got his L plates on.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and welcome. I've got extensive business experience. I've run my own businesses since 1984, been in and out of parliamentary services, government. I worked for every Prime Minister, from Jenny Shipley right through, but not including Jacinda. My role in government has been personal security, property security, and communication security. I've also had extensive experience with dealing with a large number of different corporates and companies. That has allowed me to develop solutions, obviously very diverse in what I have been able to achieve. There's very few candidates or people here that have probably run a business that is turning over just short of $100,000 per week with 3 staff. So yeah, I've got substantial financial information and backing. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Kim's neighbour Liz.
Good evening, everyone. Look, I should be well and truly retired by now, but I've put myself forward for me because I believe Kapiti deserves stronger leadership and better financial management. I have a long track record in business. I spent 20 years in general management. My last job, I had 120 staff reporting to me, not directly, but through a management structure. I've worked for companies such as Development Finance Corporation, Databank, IMCO, ESR, Ernst & Young, and for the last 25 years, I've been a financial advisor up in the Kapiti Coast. I set up my own business, which was very successful. I have strong leadership skills and strong financial management skills. There are 3 really important issues we need to solve in Kapiti, and that's rates affordability, our debt, and the future financial sustainability of core council services. And I'm really looking forward to the challenge of working with the community to solve those issues. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to travel 2 doors down the road to Martin. Please stay seated so it doesn't overload our camera person with the L plates.
Not a problem at all. Look, kia ora, Kapiti. Thank you for time. Thank you for taking the time to tune in to tonight's show, and also thank you for It's in the Ballot for putting on the event. I'm Martin Halliday, and a little bit about me. I'm Wellington born. I brought my family to the Kapiti Coast about 15 years ago, and I often reflect on that decision as being one of the best that I've actually made because I love it up here. I think Kapiti is an absolutely fantastic place. I have 35 years experience in the hospitality industry as an entrepreneur, manager, and business owner. It has given me strong leadership, managerial, and people skills, and this has now been strengthened with 6 years full-time as ward councillor for Parapara Umu, where I work towards positive outcomes for our community. And I guess one of the things is, what is the pathway that got me here? And that was having a business down at the beach, being chair of the business association, and then going to council to ask, what is your economic development strategy? What's your tourism strategy? To be told we don't have one. So I decided to get involved, put my hand up, didn't get in there the first time, but got in the second time, and it's been an absolute privilege to serve my community over the last 6 years and to build that knowledge up as part of that process. So yeah, thank you.
And travelling another door down the road, we've got Rob.
Kia ora, ko Rob McCann aho, and I'm asking for your support to be the next mayor of Kapiti. And why? Because I want a council that actually works for you. The first thing that kind of council needs to do is actually listen to its people. So when the government put in place a little bit of overreach called Plan Change 2, our council leadership didn't listen. They listened to the staff and they rubber stamped what the government wanted to do. And that's led to rampant intensification of housing right across the region in areas where we just can't really have it. And the fact is, the Auckland Mayor and the Auckland Council listened, and they pushed back and they agreed to a bespoke deal with the government. And that's the kind of mayor that I want to be. One that listens to you, one that acts, and one that gets things done. Because if there's one phrase that I would like you to remember this campaign, it's that McCann can. Thanks.
And because you've overshot when it comes down to it, you put the car back in reverse and get your way down to Janet.
Kia ora, good evening, everyone. My name's Janet Holbrook, and I'm asking for your support for a second term as mayor. I was deputy mayor before that for 2 terms for 6 years, and an elected member for 9 years before that. So I've seen a few councils come and go, and what I know is that a council can achieve things when they work well together. And over the past 3 years with Deputy Mayor Lawrence Kirby, I've led a council which has been collaborative and effective. And that didn't happen by accident. When I was first elected 3 years ago, I sat down with every councillor and went through an inclusive and innovative governance structure which gave everyone around the table a voice. And I can assure you that no matter who's elected out of the 85 candidates that we have, I will lead a positive and constructive council so that we can achieve great things for the community like we have, like the skate park, the library for Waikanai, and massive water infrastructure projects. Thank you.
Okay, now we get off to the fun part. This is where the box questions are. So each candidate will go one by one, picking out a box number, and then got to answer the question in there. Now, a bit of a change from 2022. We now have what is called button cards. So each candidate gets 2 metaphorical button cards. I'll keep a tally of who's got buttons, and please don't use too many of your buttons, otherwise we might have to put a motion out whether you can have any more or not. Also, we do have defer cards. So if a candidate gets a question they don't want to answer, they can defer it to another candidate who preferably here, but we do have one who's not, so you could always defer it to that candidate. And with our lovely random list order generator that sits down there and keeps everyone on their toes, Liz, you get to go up first. What box number between 1 and 28?
I'll have lucky number 8.
Lucky number 8. Oh, close. Haru. We have J for Juliet. How will you ensure the transfer of water assets, revenue, and debt off council's balance sheet to a new water services organization doesn't create scope for Kapiti Coast District Council to run up new debt and increased rates on non-core projects and services?
Okay, well, look, the water assets are going into an internal business unit within council. So this isn't a big deal in terms of the debt and so on. So we're very fortunate that in Kapiti we have a very efficient and effective 3 waters set up. We've signed off on our water services delivery plan, which needs to be approved, obviously. But look, we are on a real mission to pay down debt. And to me, that's really, really important. That's one of the biggest issues we have right now. Every ratepayer is paying about $450 a year in interest. And you'll see in our financial strategy, our key goal there is to pay down debt. So I think so long as we don't waver from that strategy, then we're not going to have a problem with running up new debt. And of course, we need to make sure that our new councillors and our new mayor are on board with that strategy as well, if we're going to be successful. Thank you.
Okay, Rob, what box number?
Tahi.
So Tahi, or number 1 for those who don't understand today.
S for Sierra. Do you think Kapiti Coast District Council should expand or reduce its role in social and community services?
It's a good question. I'm assuming money is limited because that's where we are at the moment. So you have to assume that we actually aren't going to come into a pot of gold. We aren't going to be able to just suddenly find extra budgets to do extra things. And we're in unprecedented times. So the reality is we can't do a great deal more. In actual fact, some of the things that we've been doing, we need to ask, are they still fit for purpose? Because council debt, regardless of what you're likely to hear, is still high. And the reality is that we are going to really struggle to continue to put up rates. The current council has put them up some 30% over 3 years. 1 year, 17%. That means that we need to actually start looking at some of the things that we're doing and go, can we actually afford? So no, I don't think we can do much expansion.
Okay, Martin, you want a button, Martin?
Yeah, I don't mind answering that one. It's quite a loaded question because what we're finding in Kapiti at the moment after the consultation that we've done is that big priorities for our community is housing, it's health, and schools. It's all social services. I look at council as being a community builder. As such, yes, we've got to balance the rates. We've got to balance the affordability aspect of things. But bottom line is we are community builders. Central government has taken great opportunity to overreach into our space. But, you know, they need to be refocusing on supplying those aspects for us. And if that's not going to be the case, we need to advocate for it, because if we don't, who will? If we want better health services, if we want the schools, if we want the housing, social housing that we need to be in those advocacy roles, and we need to do that strongly. It doesn't need to cost a lot, but we do need to be there, and we do need to make ourselves be heard by central government for delivery.
And a button from Janet.
And another button as well.
Oh, from Kim. Oh, God, it seems to be button galore.
Well, I think this is a popular button question because we all care about our community, right? And the problem is, how are we going to keep looking after our community and making life good for people in Kapiti when we're constrained by our ability to pay for that? It's also somewhat unhelpful that central government keeps saying that we only have a role in roads and pipes. We do so much more than that. And we've got legislation coming through central government at the moment, which is going to constrain our ability to pay for some of the things that we need to do, that our community needs to do to help itself. And it's a real concern. So I think this is actually one of the most serious questions we need to answer, because we need to keep doing the things we're doing, but we can't keep putting rates up to do it. So I think we should be at least maintaining what we do in terms of helping our social service organisations. What we also need, which the Deputy Mayor has been pushing for, is a social needs assessment, so we understand what those needs are.
And continuing with the buttons, Kim.
Yeah, I've also got quite big concerns about this. What people may not be aware is the government has a different tiered system where how they allocate money and policy. Kapiti and Kapiti Council is considered as a tier 1 community when it comes to housing, which means we get high density housing forced upon us. However, when it comes to education and medical facilities, we get treated as a tier 3 rating, which means it is a very low priority. So when it comes to social services, your schools, your medical, that should not be a ratepayer expense. It is a government expense that has been avoided by the government. I've already tried to champion with Tim, our local MP, and it is up to him to actually advocate for the community along with the support of KCDC. Thank you.
Okay, Martin, now what box number?
Number 17, please.
17.
Oh, yes, that good old age, you can join the military.
Okay, my mic's broken, so I will project. There was another one behind me?
Oh, yeah. Mine will reach.
On board. I didn't play inside. All right. Hello.
No.
All right. I will project.
You're getting there.
Shall I? There you go. H for hotel.
H for holiday, just saying that.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Hey, I'm the question host this time. What current Kapiti Coast District Council project, planned or underway, do you think is most transformational and why? What project would you cancel or change?
Righto, that's an interesting one. Look, this trinium, one of the big projects, if you like, that came to fruition was our Vision Kapiti work. And why I picked Vision Kapiti is that's looking, well, first of all, very successful community engagement. We had thousands of people respond to Vision Kapiti. It gave us a very, very rich source of community wishes and desires for their respective areas for the next, well, up into 2050. So what that fundamentally does is gives us a bit of a roadmap for what our community wants for the coming 30 years. So from a planning perspective, that's gold. What would I cancel? I don't think I would cancel or change anything. I mean, I'm proud of the decisions I've made with this council over the last 2 triniums. We've moved it from a contentious space to an empowered space. And I'm very, very happy with the progress we're making, but that's because we do a lot of planning. Councils do their long-term plan. They do different strategies, all sorts of bits and pieces, and we are constantly updating it. So I'm quite happy with where we're at the moment and how we're moving forward.
Okay, another button from Janet. Gee, you know how to use them up very quickly.
Yeah, no, well, I think this is a really important question because the most important council project I think we do is our Three Waters work. And particularly our $200 million worth of stormwater work that we're chugging our way through. Some people might have noticed that there was a bit of disruption around Rimu Road last year. And that was a piece of work that was going to protect 350 properties or so. And that work is so important because our groundwater is rising, our storm and flooding events are getting more frequent, and it's really important that we protect our communities. Then we've got our other water projects, the reservoirs for Otaki, which mean that Otaki will have a water supply in an emergency. Our upgrades of the Waikanai water treatment plant. These are fundamental to our well-being as a community. In terms of something that I'd cancel or change, we'd have to ask the community about that through the next long-term plan. We can't keep current levels of spending, and we're going to have to ask our community what they would like to see not happen if we're going to cut rates.
Okay, Kim, what box number?
The special prime number 2.
Hello.
Foxtrot.
Hello. We have F for Foxtrot.
And I'd say just leave one of those mics plugged in, not both, because I think that might be doing it.
Oh, okay. Good to know. With respect to large capital projects, is it more important to support local contractors or to focus on getting the best value for Kapiti Coast ratepayers?
100% in supporting local contractors. However, they have to be cost effective in their delivery. I believe that a local contractor, they buy their lunches in Kapiti, they eat in Kapiti, they support the Kapiti region, which in turn means that the money stays in Kapiti. If we're using outside contractors, most of them are overseas. They come up the coast with a cut lunch. They don't spend any money in our shops. So the money leaves the community in every aspect, apart from just the job role itself. I believe that, yeah, we should be supporting contractors. I would like to introduce a possible scheme where, like the tow truck drivers, they have a rolling scheme of if there's a car accident, they share the load. We could do the same with some of our contractors in water and in electrical services. Thank you.
Okay, Janet, what box number?
Iwa, 9.
All right. We have a working mic this time, as well as Q for Quixotic. With respect to of Kapiti, okay, as mayor of Kapiti Coast, how do you intend to lead and manage elected members who have opposing views or are in conflict?
Well, I kind of answered this question a little bit during my introduction. I think this is so fundamental to a council operating well. And if a council operates well, the organisation operates well, and that also flows out into the community. We have 31 elected members, not just councillors, but community board members as well. So people aren't going to get along all the time. The most important thing is for people to respect each other's opinions and also listen properly to one another's point of views. There's no point having a debate if people come to the table with fixed ideas. And I think I've been really fortunate the last 3 years because I have had a group of people who have operated with a high level of respect, have listened to each other and functioned so well together. So I'd actually like to thank the elected members for the last 3 years, actually, because this has been a really good 3 years. Thank you.
And so we got 5 questions down, and Janet gets to start the next round. What box number?
Tacoma Toru, 13.
D for Delta. Do you support rate capping? If so, should it apply to both core and non-core services? If not, why not?
Well, this is a little bit of a challenging question during this campaign because it's become quite a popular idea because everybody wants to see lower rates, right? But the question is rates capping the right way to do it? And in my view, it's not. It hasn't worked overseas. It means that you can have a degradation of your infrastructure. Definitely, you need to have enough rates to pay for your core services. Artificially putting a cap on rates means that communities can't decide for themselves how they want to prioritise projects each year, and it reduces the ability to have that conversation with the community. And what's special about local government is that ability to time things over different years, to ask the community, what do you want to see in your community? We asked the community whether they wanted to reduce debt or whether they wanted to have lower rates when we did the long-term plan. And they answered the former. And it's really important for us to be empowered to have those conversations with the community.
And we've got Liz here. Button in.
Look, I feel quite strongly about this. You know, the whole aim that we're after is affordable rates. Now, rates capping doesn't lead to affordable rates. There is an affordability measure that we use in council, and it's pretty much prescribed really in the legislation. We are required to have an affordable rating system, and the best measure, in my view, is the rates as the percentage of a median household income. That's what tells you whether rates are affordable or not a rates cap. And we've got some work to do around this because we now have a different affordability measure for the three waters than what we do for our general rates. So we're going to have to solve this problem about how we look at those two things differently. Rates capping can lead to increased debt because if there's a cap and councils run short of money, what do? They borrow. It can lead to increased services, a fee and service charges. So you pay more when you go to the swimming pool, pay more when you borrow books from the library. It's not a solution. So let's focus on rates affordability, not rates capping.
We got Martin putting a button as well.
Maxi, go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do I support rates capping? Look, no, I don't. The reason I don't support rates capping is because at the moment, no one can define what's being capped. What's the base figure? You know,
The price of vegan butter.
I know that sounds crazy. So in the last long-term plan, look, one of the things that KCDC has used as a ceiling, if you like, for rates has been 5% of the average household income. And at the last long-term plan, we blew past that. I didn't support that, but I was a minority at the time. In my view, we need to get back to that 5% cap. Sorry, I'm not going to call it a cap, that 5% ceiling. And then we need to look at what is a fair and reasonable amount for rates to be for the average person in Kapiti, or basically across the country, because we can't do this alone. Infrastructure can't be rated alone. There needs to be support coming from central government. They do a 50-50 split on roads. Why can't they do that on other forms of core infrastructure as well? They offloaded that responsibility when they created local government and keep pushing things onto rates, and it's got to stop. We also need to be looking at developing alternative revenue streams as well. But first point, get back to 5%.
And imagine if you actually applied a revenue cap on private businesses. I can tell you every private business owner will be screaming at the roof over it. So that's something I definitely know, especially if someone told me, no, you can't sit there and increase your revenue by 5%. Martin, what box number?
Okay. Let's keep the line going. I'll go 18. Thank you very much.
Oh yes, good old voting age.
C for Charlie. While the government is proposing to define core services for councils through the Local Government Systems Improvement Bill, what do you consider are core and non-core services?
That's $1 million question, really, isn't it? It's pretty much all subjective. Look, the big problem is again, central government overreach. We go through a long-term plan process. We have extensive consultation with the community where we find what the community wants us to do. And then we put plans around that. The affordability issue with regards to what that cost needs to be factored in as well. That's why setting the rates at a set level and saying, this is the figure you have. Now go ahead and do the work that needs to be done within that budget. It's up to our community to decide what are our core services. As I mentioned before, we're community builders. It's up to us to ensure that we've got a community here in Kapiti that we want to live in, that we want to be a part of. That's why we came here. So I'm all for planning. I'm all for listening to the community, but being responsible about how we do that.
Okay. Well, we're going to button from Kim.
Yeah, number 2. Yeah, core services. I believe that core services are services that should be essential. Rubbish collection should be inclusive in your rates. It is in many councils around New Zealand, but it is not in rates. If everyone has probably just experienced a wheelie bin price increase, that has not come into the rates figure. So if it was pulled back into council, I've actually already proposed a plan to the council with regard to a complete waste management system. It deals with our household rubbish, our wastewater, the process through enzymes converts it to hydrogen, to electricity, that pumps it on the grid, and that company and that process will pay Kapiti Council $17 million a year. So now we've got $17 million a year to subsidise or pay for everyone's rubbish collection. It also has the ability to subsidise our electricity costs further into the future.
Sounds grand and ambitious. Liz, what box number?
14.
Tacoma Far.
No, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sorry, had a mind blank in there.
That's all right. Good. And we'll do G for golf. What do you see as Kapiti Coast District Council's largest financial risk, and how would you ensure it is mitigated?
Well, I keep harping on about debt, and our biggest risk is that interest rates will go back up again. We're currently paying $12 million a year in interest. What if interest rates double? You know, we're already paying $450 per ratepayer in interest. What if it doubles and it goes to $900? We absolutely have to get our debt down. And I've talked and written extensively about that. There's only 2 ways you can get debt down. One is by reviewing your capital expenditure. so that we're not borrowing more to invest in new projects. So that's, as Janet has alluded to, that's something we need to work through with the community as to what capital expenditure we want. The other way to reduce debt is to have your revenue higher than your costs. And that means two things: finding additional revenue that's not rates revenue, and also looking at our costs and driving those down. Then we'll create a margin, a difference between our revenue and our costs that can go towards reducing our debt. So that's my plan for dealing with our biggest financial risk. Thank you.
And we have a button for Rob.
Yeah, I'll take a different tack. I think one of the biggest financial risks are councillors making decisions that put our community in debt in the first place. And it all starts with leadership, and it starts at the very top. And one of the decisions that we've seen, and I know it's only a small amount, but it sets the scene, is that we had a $50,000 pay rise for our CE after 1 year. Then this year we found out, because it was in the media and most councillors didn't know, that the leadership authorised a $43,000 leadership course to Harvard. Now those kind of decisions just don't make sense. And then we've got another councillor, or several councillors, who are in favour of putting economic development into an outside organisation at over $1.3 million per year, with very, very few KPIs that I think will be met. Those are significant sums, and they set the scene for a whole lot of decision making that comes after us. So we need to take a good hard look at ourselves as we make those decisions, not just blame the government, which, to be fair, overreach is their middle name.
And more on the buttons. Liz.
I'm going to call you out, Mr. McCann, because you were on the interview panel for our chief executive that agreed he would be paid $50,000 under his market rate salary on the basis that in a year's time, if he did well, he would be paid an extra $50,000. We saved $50,000 in that first year by doing that. And the trip to Harvard, he had 3 years without any professional development. I've done a Harvard course myself. I know what a game changer it is. And I'm really looking forward to working with a chief executive that's had that level of training. And as for economic development, the reason we pushed it into a trust was to get it out of council, to allow it to find other forms of revenue. And it has a huge amount of KPIs in place. It has a letter of expectation. We're not just giving money over to that trust. We have a button-down agreement with that trust as to how that money is going to be spent. And it will be up to each council as to what money does go to that trust. But the whole idea of getting it out of council is to save ratepayer money and allow it to get revenue that is not from the ratepayers. So I'm calling you out, Mr. McCann, because I keep hearing you say those things over and over, and it's just complete fallacy. I'm sorry.
Okay, Rob, you get the next box number.
Can I butt into the button?
No, you can't.
Oh, he technically has a button.
Technically, I've got a button, so I'm going to use it. Firstly, I'm going to butt in. No, Liz is absolutely right that I did sit on that. And the one thing that I find astonishing is, of course, everything that was said in that is confidential. Obviously, the councillor doesn't agree with that. But I can tell you, I never agreed that the CE was going to get an extra $50,000 for just doing a year's work. I think that kind of increase is insulting to those people, that's literally a full salary. The reality is, if you're going to also outsource because you're hoping that you can find imaginary sources of income, good luck, because every council is doing the same kind of thing. They want to try and find other sources of income, but they just don't exist. And that's why you need really hard KPIs, key performance indicators, that such an organisation would need to meet. And from what I've seen, they simply don't exist, and it's pie in the sky stuff. So that's me butting in to myself.
And now I want a box number. So Rob, what box number are you picking?
5. Is that available?
That's available. Okay. Y for Yankee.
Are you comfortable saying that now?
Yeah, we discussed that a few shows ago.
I know.
Yeah. People think I'm Irish.
He's not our president, so. That's all
No,
right.
that's true. And he is also a New
Damn
Zealand
straight.
citizen.
Beyond finance, what do you see as Kapiti Coast District Council's biggest overall risk, and how would you deal with it?
Well, actually, I think most of the people up here all agree that one of the biggest risks is Parliament and the continued overreach and continued rules and obligations they put on council. And we're hearing about that they want to put us back to the basics, but they haven't even got the legislation right. They haven't done the homework, and they've even missed out in the initial draft of that some of the things that in legislation we are forced to do. So this is one of the things that, you know, everyone on this stage would agree that there needs to be concerted pushbacks to our MPs so they actually understand what's going on in council and they stop making rules and regulations that affect us without providing any income. The days of not providing income for councils have to be over. Just because the council can, the government can put your taxes up and keep all that money doesn't mean that they should do that without sharing some of that to local communities right throughout the country.
Okay, Kim, what box number?
17.
No, I think that's gone.
Sorry.
Oh,
16, 19,
16.
16. 16 it is.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Tacoma onward.
The driver's license age.
Yep, if you've got one.
Z for Zachariah. How should Kapiti Coast District Council balance the need to be open and transparent with the need to conduct some decision-making, such as commercially sensitive matters, behind closed doors?
Excellent question. I want to turn things right around and actually take the council meetings out to the community. So once a month, shift one of the council meetings out to be in line with a community board meeting. That way we can get direct feedback from the public ourselves. We're accessible so that we can express the transparency that's required. And also it will allow us to advise the residents exactly what the consequences are of some of their requests. It's nice to say, oh, we want a new library up in Otaki. That's fine. We accept there's a request for a library. However, if we put forward, the library is great, what would you like to remove from services to pay for that library? As soon as that understanding is met, I believe that we can have a lot more open dialogue between the residents and the council.
10 questions down and off for a new round. Janet, what box number?
Tako, 10.
I like that.
10 it is. N for Nick. Do you think capital investment has been spread fairly across the Kapiti Coast? If not, which communities should receive greater priority over the next 3 years?
Well, we work really hard to look after all our community. Kapiti's a really challenging place, actually, because you've got this selection of smaller communities and they all have different needs. And we've got to make sure that all of those communities get the facilities and services that they need. One of the ways that happens is the community boards feeding back into the long-term plan. And I organised when I was deputy mayor for the community boards to have early input into the long-term plan so they could advocate for the things that they need in their communities. I've just mentioned our water infrastructure. We're delivering that evenly across the district with the water treatment plant in Waikanai, the reservoirs in Otaki. We've got the seawall happening in Paikakariki. So we've got a massive spread of major capital projects happening across the community. Otaki is still an area of high need, and I think we need a better facility there in terms of the library memorial hall complex, and I would really love to deliver something in partnership with iwi and the community in that space.
Okay, Kim, what box number?
21.
Oh, yes, yes. That old drinking age and voting age from, was it 70 years ago?
X for xylophone. What qualities do you believe are most important in a mayor of the Kapiti Coast, and how will you demonstrate them?
That's actually quite easy. I've already put forward, I would like to get out into the community, attend the community board meetings. Several of the community board chairs are here. They're well aware that I actually attend a lot of the community board meetings. The advantage going through the community boards is they are after hours, so I can get from Lower Hutt to here or from Ahakia back down to here, and I can still achieve community involvement through the community board meetings. As a mayor, I would like to actually reach out and still attend those meetings, but it can be better represented, particularly if I can take some councillors with me as well, so that we are accessible and we do get public feedback. Thank you.
Okay, Rob, what box number?
15 it is. Tako Marima. E for exotic. Or echo. Do you agree with how Kapiti Coast District Council is currently managing its debt? If not, what changes would you make? Sorry.
Liz is going to completely disagree with this statement, so I apologise, Liz. I'd donate you one, but I've only got one left. Look, I think one of the fundamental differences with how we're managing our debt and how I think we should manage our debt is that it's been proposed that we pay it down significantly faster over 10 years. Now, the problem is, who's going to be here in 10 years? Liz has already said she should retire, so it might not be Liz. I'm going to be pretty old in 10 years as well, and so there might be a mayor who says, oh, I've got a whole lot of extra headroom because the people out there who are ratepayers right now have been forking out extra dollars to pay down the debt. Now, if we create that extra headroom, is a council in 10 years going to respect that, or are they going to spend it? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a realistic person, and I wouldn't want to create that much headroom. And I just think it's unfair on the people that are here now. It's debt, and it's generational debt. That's the point of it. It's not supposed to be paid down by you.
Buy extra buttons or something?
Liz and I both want a button, okay?
Okay.
Is this from the same budget that you're going to pay and balance the
Just a
budget by?
moment. I put forward a motion. Can you please second it to add each candidate to have a button? Nick, you second it?
I second it.
All those in favour, yell out aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, can I have the first
No,
button?
so Liz, start off with you and then go with Janet.
Look,
All right, yes, Liz.
I tell you who is going to be here in 10 years' time and 20 years' time, and that's your children and your grandchildren. Who wants to leave a legacy of debt for the next generation? I'm sorry, but we have to front up to the cost that we've incurred. A lot of that has been incurred in building and maintaining our water infrastructure, and that's why we have such a fantastic system. But we've got to pay for that. Why should our children and grandchildren have to pay for that when we're using it now? So I'm sorry, but that's where it's at. So what was the other point that you made that I was going to?
Well, it was a good one.
I think Liz is going to.
But I know the headroom. The headroom. Hang on, the headroom. So. One of the reasons for creating the debt headroom was that we want to self-insure, because we currently pay $3 million a year in insurance, and if we have that debt headroom, we can wipe out a big chunk of that cost. So obviously, if we are self-insuring, we're not going to use that debt headroom to go off and build more capital intensive projects and so on. So that's a really, really good reason to have that headroom. So yeah, please take care of your children and grandchildren, and we want to self-insure.
I'm going to jump into that one.
Okay.
I'm going to
Because
save
that's
my
just a
other
great
button.
fun thing to do. Sorry. Look, do I agree with the capital? Look, I do support how our council is currently managing its debt. When you take into consideration 2/3 of it is fundamentally water infrastructure debt. Now that will be getting moved, but what's important to me, well, a big part of this is our financial strategy. Now, what council's done in the financial strategy, they do a thing called pre-funding, because the big thing about debt is the interest, as has been pointed out, is the interest aspect. Now, we paid about $14 million in interest last year, but that was offset by $4.5 million that we earned in interest by borrowing money earlier because we get it a bit cheaper. So that's good, sound, prudent financial management. The trick to the trick from my perspective with regards to the debt is our capital program as well. Do we need to be doing everything as quickly as we are? And I don't think we do. I think we can stretch that out as well, which then means we're not borrowing as much or at such a high level as we currently are. Tie those things together, and I think we are looking at a good managed approach as we move forward.
Yeah, Janet's butting in.
Yeah, there are a couple of things I want to address. Something nobody's mentioned, which has been mentioned before tonight, is the cost of servicing debt. It's such a huge cost for our community, and we haven't gone overboard with our financial strategy. We've made a sensible plan to reduce debt over time, and we juggled and juggled those figures to make sure that we had a good plan which sets us up for the future, has that headroom that Liz talked about in case the worst happens. We're going to get worse floods, we're going to get worse disasters. There's stuff coming down the pipeline that we need to be able to deal with, and that's why we've set our sensible and prudent financial strategy. And I just wanted to address something which Martin just said, which was maybe we should prioritise projects so that we don't draw down so much debt. We already do that. We drew down $10 million less debt than we were planning to last year because we've prioritised our work program so that it's flexible, so that we don't have to do everything all at once. So we've already embarked on a strategy to reduce that as well.
Rob's got a button.
Yeah, I'm going to butt in again to my own question. The first thing is paying down extra debt or not paying down extra debt does not mean that we don't love our children. That's just a silly argument. The reality is, how much can you and the community afford? And that's one of the reasons, that's one of the things that councils struggle with, is how much can you afford? Could you afford the 17% rates rise? I don't think you could afford it. And that's one of the reasons why we can pay down more debt, because some people around the room are perhaps not in touch as much with the average ratepayer. I think rates have got out of control. And if you're looking at 17%, that is not something that I can advocate for so that we can pay down debt faster. Now, does it mean that I don't want to pay down debt? Of course not. This is not, it's not that kind of argument. We need to be sensible and do what we can afford and make sure that we have a little bit spare so when there are the disasters, etc. But paying it all down or a significant amount in 10 years is just too much for our community to bear.
And after many attempts, Martin, what box number?
Right, Charlie. 6, thank you.
6 it is. And we have W for Waco.
Ironic.
It's very dark.
Very dark. Very dark. Thank you very much. I love the shout out. All right. What experience or skills do you bring to ensure sound financial governance and decision making?
Yeah, okay, there's 2 parts to that question for me. So my background has been in business ownership. I have a hospitality background and I've owned my own businesses in that space. So I've done all my own finances and all my own planning around all that. So I've learned fundamentally through the school of hard knocks. And I think that's a way to learn very, very valuable lessons. And I've strengthened that with 6 years full-time at council. Now, the council role, is, from a council perspective, is considered part-time. I immersed myself in it full-time. Pretty much what my view is, to understand a thing, you have to immerse yourself to learn a thing. And then once you've got that understanding, that gives you the tools that you need to then work towards the outcomes that you're after. Utilize, because I tell you right now, councils are a weird business. They don't work like normal business. It took about 18 months for me to get my head around that and to actually figure out how this all works. So looking forward to hopefully having the opportunity to drive the organisation in the way that I'd like to drive it, but we'll see what happens at election time. Thank you.
Okay, Liz, what box number?
Three.
All right, let's see if I can be a bit lighter. O for orange. How's that? Should Kapiti Coast District Council fund and support iwi hapu capacity, and to what extent?
Look, I've had it said to me, why is council supporting these, these iwi organisations, because they're so wealthy, iwi have huge amounts of money, and why are we giving council money to them? Well, it's actually not true. We only have one of our mana whenua partners who has had a treaty settlement, and they're largely based in Porora. We have two mana whenua partners who have not yet had their treaty settlements. So we do need to help them. There is a huge resource requirement. We are required by the Local Government Act to consult with iwi on a whole range of things. Just about every council decision, if you look at all our council papers, there's a section in there on implications for iwi and have iwi been consulted, etc., etc. That's a huge load on them. There's not that many of them, and they're absolutely stretched, because not only are they dealing with local government, they're also dealing with central government. And they haven't got enough people to go around. So yes, we need to support their capacity and their ability to input into our decisions.
Okay, 15 questions down, and let's, fingers crossed, they'll get through the next 5 in the next 6 minutes. Martin, what box number?
Again, I'm going to go 4. Thank you very. Actually, no, I'm going to ask the audience. What number, guys? What number? Who's first? 7.
Well,
Done.
7.
that was first. Quick on the draw. All right. All right. P for palladium.
You meant to say para umu.
You know my love. I'm going to stop there. Anyway, what role should the Kapiti Coast District Council play in protecting natural areas and biodiversity while still supporting economic growth?
Look, I think we need to take a very balanced approach. Look, one of the challenges I've seen is in relation to from the regards of biodiversity in the natural areas is our relationship with Greater Wellington Regional Council, and how difficult that has been to actually move forward in lots of the areas that we could potentially be moving forward in. Part of my campaign is looking at KCDC being a unitary council, which means we absorb the responsibilities of Greater Wellington, because a big thing about me is that we need to be the purveyors of our own destiny. We've done that with the Three Waters, 2 very good results for our community, because we're on the fringe. We're on the fringe of Wellington region, we're on the fringe of the Hora Whenua region. So tying that in with economic growth, the aspect for me has always been, and Liz would agree with this, we're the place for people to come and to relax, to chill out, to unwind. So I think from a tourism perspective, there's a relationship that can be had as well. But I'd like to see us be a part of, us to be more the winners of our own destiny, shall we say. Thank you very much.
Liz, what box number? Yeah.
That's random.
Yes.
Random.
It's random now.
It's always been random.
Oh, okay, all right.
You can thank Greg O'Connor for that one. Back in
By surprise, I was
2020.
having a little rest here.
K for kilo. What role should the Kapiti Coast District Council play in addressing climate change? Should emissions reduction be a key priority, or do you have other areas of focus?
Climate change. Look, I think emissions reduction is important. We know that, and we know that what 70 or 80% of our emissions are from cars driving up and down the road. So, look, I think we do have a role in that. Council itself is trying to reduce its emissions. We have an active work program to try and be more environmentally sustainable, and we're doing pretty well on that. As far as the rest of the community is concerned, really all we can do is advocacy. We can educate people, encourage people to take the right steps, but I think we can also work with community groups in this area. And that's something I'm really keen on, is particularly, for a lot of these sort of community related things, we need to work in partnership with community groups. We know, there's groups like Low Carbon Kapiti, various other groups operating in this space that are keen to work with us and provide some voluntary input, as well as perhaps some help from council.
And we got a very quick button from Kim.
I'll get still 1 minute. Yeah, addressing the climate change, there's a couple of aspects to that. One of our proposals to council was the waste reduction. Currently, Kapiti sends 420 tonnes of waste up to Bonneview every single week. That's around about 30 truckloads. If it was processed through the waste management system here on the coast, we've reduced that significantly, because it only needs to be transported here to Otahanga, or in most cases it can remain in the pipes, because a percentage of it is actually already bio-waste. The other aspect is the climate change. I actually support the CAP report that was put out, where the CAP report actually said monitor the sea level rise as opposed to accept the science. Once again, I produced a paper that was submitted in the long-term plan. It was based around a sustainable wet peg platform.
Okay, Janet, what box number?
Ruatako Marima, 25.
Hiding in plain sight. I for Indigo. Looking ahead, what is the single biggest opportunity you see for the Kapiti Coast, and how would you ensure the district takes advantage of it?
There are so many opportunities, but one of our big opportunities is how we are growing. And it's an opportunity and it's a challenge. It's an opportunity because it gives us a chance to expand, to mature, to create better facilities, to have a bigger population base. We get the development contributions from that growth, which enable us to grow and mature and create a vibrant place for our residents. But it's also a challenge because, as was mentioned in one of the introductions, it changes our environment. And so we've got to make sure that that growth happens in a way that's appropriate. We were forced by central government to create areas of intensification. Auckland has managed, after 2 years, the only council in the country to get some bespoke legislation which addresses some of that. Central government has said we're going to be able to change that. They keep reneging on that, but as soon as we can, I think we need to address some of those rules to make sure that growth happens in the right way.
Okay, Rob, what box number?
I've been disagreeing with Liz all night, so I'll let Liz choose a box for me.
Oh, what's a tricky one? What's the upside down one?
Yeah. Oh, we have many upside down ones.
That's my fault.
All right. U for Unicorn. What role should Kapiti Coast District Council play in youth engagement and supporting young people in the district? Do you believe youth space and its services are core council work?
First up, you need to make sure you elect councillors who look young like Martin and myself and who aren't saying they should be retiring. Absolutely, this is a core. I didn't say I was retiring. I believe Liz said she was retiring. It's absolutely core. Look, the one set of people who often don't have a voice in our community because we don't let them vote are our youth. So we have to make decisions for them that helps to keep them engaged. One of the things that we need to make sure that we're doing is communicating on their channels. So yes, if I'm mayor, I will remain on TikTok to make sure that we're actually talking to them. But we've got to make sure that Zeal and other programs for them are available. We've got to give them opportunities. And it does mean that we need to make sure that we get rangatahi around the council table to talk to us so that we listen and then they go back into their schools or wherever it is in the community they are and say, yeah, I've been there, and you can talk to them.
Okay, Kim, what box number?
Number 4, birthday.
All alone by itself. Let's see. A for Alpha. Do you support political party endorsement of local government candidates?
Definitely not. Local body, local elections, it should be kept local. We don't need political or central government rules dictated down to us. We've got our best format here on the council, and if we listen to the locals and the government played their part in actually funding how they're meant to be funding us, as in on the tier system with medical, schools, education, everything can stay local. We don't need local central government or political parties' influence in achieving that.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back after for hard-hitting questions.
We're taking a pause, just a short little breather to stretch out your legs. You don't need a leader. The live stream will be back, so don't go too far. But for now, you can wander wherever you are. Intermissions aren't really a thing anymore, but we think they're cool, a tradition to adore. A moment to breathe, have a laugh, maybe chat. There's magic in breaks, and we're keeping that. Head to the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Into the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. The lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. short little breather to stretch out your legs. You don't need a leader. The live stream will be back, so don't go too far. But for now, you can wander wherever you are. Intermissions aren't really a thing anymore, but we think they're cool, a tradition to adore. A moment to breathe, have a laugh, maybe chat. There's magic in breaks, and we're keeping that. Head to the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Into the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. The lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime.
Oh shit, don't panic, but it's almost time to get back to the show. The candidates have stretched their legs, been partying, taking a break. Cause there's still hard-hitting questions, closing statements and stuff you wanna know. So grab those snacks for their answers and prep for decisions you need to make. Oh, 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 oh. The candidates have stretched their leg. The candidates have stretched their legs, been partying, taking a break. There's still hard-hitting questions, closing statements and stuff you wanna know. So grab a snack you wanna know. So grab those snacks for their answers and prep for decisions you need to make. Oh, 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 oh.
Okay, and welcome back. Let's get ready for hard-hitting questions. Here we go.
Hard-hitting questions. We're not gonna make a money. What does a question? Because if a candidate has answered the hard-hitting questions.
Okay, so let's get ready for hard-hitting questions. These are the questions that candidates can't use the button cards because they're going to be answering the questions, can't use the defer cards because they're already going to be answering the questions. So let's kick them off with hard-hitting question number 1. Rates have increased significantly in the last 3 years. What current services or activities performed by Kapiti Coast District Council do you consider not core services and should be reduced or stopped? Let's kick off with Liz.
Okay. All righty. So look, there is nothing that council does that is not needed in the community. It's just a question of how the community prioritizes things and who should pay for these things. So that's what we need to work through. We have an opportunity next year because we need to start working on our next long-term plan. So the long-term plan we have now expires. Every long-term plan is done every 3 years. So while it's a 10-year plan, it's renewed every 3 years. We have an opportunity next year to ask the community, what do you want us to keep doing and what do you want us to not keep doing? And for those things that the community feels it should be someone else's job, we need to find pathways to enable those things to still continue, but with less input from council, by finding partners to work with, by finding other sources of revenue to cover off those things. Because there's a lot of things that we do that make a huge difference in our community. And yes, you know, we hear that people are struggling with rates, so we've got to find creative solutions to this issue. Thank you.
Okay, Martin.
Okay, that's me. Look, I've been pretty clear on my view with regard to the rate increases over the past 3 years. They've been significant and they've been too much. And the reason they've been too much is that affordability issue. We have had a self-imposed ceiling of 5%, which was blown past the last long-term plan. So my view is we need to get back to that and then move forward from there. With regards to what would be the core services should or shouldn't be stopped, look, that's, as I said before, that's a question that's really needs to be asked of the community. But it's also an operational question. If we flip this and give council a budget, then say to them, it's your job to deliver within that budget. Now, it will then become a case of prioritising. We can extend, we can increase rates by growth. For argument's sake, 500 units, housing units came online last year, and by inflation. But that should coincide with the average household income. And then a piece of work, as I've mentioned, needs to be done to look at the rates question and how it can be done better, because the current system is not fit for purpose. Everyone says it, but no one's doing anything about it. And I will certainly advocate for that to change.
Okay, Janet.
The way I see this, we have one core service, and that's to create a vibrant Kapiti for the people who live here. How we define core services is another question. There's new legislation coming out from government, which thankfully includes things like libraries, swimming pools, sports fields, because it seems to me central government's thinking that we only do roads and pipes, but there's so much more to what we do. And aside from those facilities, there's some of the things we've been talking about tonight. Supporting our community organisations, ensuring people have what they need in the community, sometimes filling in the gap when central government won't fund the services that we need. So I think we need to keep doing those things, but we need to do that in partnership with the community. The next long-term plan is too late. I think we need to consult on the next annual plan to ask our community, what do you need? What are you willing to pay for? What's an acceptable rates rise?
Okay, next up, Kim.
Yeah, I I've already sort of outlined a lot of where I think we should be going. If strategic investment, if we're getting $17 million coming back into the council revenue, that we could either split that three ways. You can either A, include your rubbish bins, which is $500 per household, or we could pay back the debt, which I believe is quite critical, or we could go back out to the community and perhaps have a split of either way. But the rate increases are getting out of control. What is actually set in local government policy is the rates are defined by the previous year's expenditure. And that's very important, because if we're expecting rates cuts and the expenditure is high from the previous year, that's not going to happen. However, the council this time round has saved significant on their expenditure. Thank you.
Okay, Rob.
Kia ora. I want to agree with mostly what everyone said up here, is that we shouldn't be cutting our core responsibilities just because government want to make us the whipping boy. But there are some things that council does do and is gambling on that shouldn't be our core responsibility. We have a lot of development in our community. We have a lot of houses and people coming into our community. So trying to outsource the economic development for 1.3 million over 10 years, that's well over $10 million. I don't think that's core council business. I don't see anything in those particular documents that I can see that is going to be delivered that isn't actually probably going to already take place. There are so many things that we have gambled on, like the pop-ups in Waikanae, that just haven't made any money and nothing has come back except council debt. So some of those things I don't think are core council responsibilities, and we should move away from that. But otherwise, I agree with what everyone said here.
Okay, let's get on to hard-hitting question number 2. When it wants to get there, yes. If money or consent weren't a constraint, what is one big idea or project you'll push for Kapiti Coast District Council to pursue? And just wait for it. And Janet, you get to go first.
Yeah, thank you. I want to take the word push out of there, because I think any big project that we do, we need to ask the community first. Is this important to you? Do you want to take on the extra debt or the cost that it's going to incur? For years, we've heard that people want, for instance, an indoor sports and community centre. And we lost Te Newhanga last year, our community centre. And we do have an opportunity and the land to have an indoor sports and community centre rolled into one, which would be a wonderful facility for our district in the future. But the question is it so important, and can we afford it? And any big idea that we have, we're going to have to go through that process. The other one I mentioned earlier was the hub in Otaki to replace the Memorial Hall and the library. Now, there's an opportunity there, and it might also apply to the indoor sports centre to work in partnership with iwi, in partnership with the community, so that we can deliver that facility without it being purely funded by rates or debt.
Okay, next up, Martin.
Well, I've taken a bit of a different twist on this one. I'm looking at this as being a fun question. What? No money constraints or consent constraints? Well, there's a dam that could be built, and we could be having our own electrical power supply, if you like. That would be a heck of an advantage. But the one that I'm actually picking up is whale song. And the reason I talk about whale song is because I think that has the opportunity to bring a theme to our district from a tourism perspective. And it's also a theme that can be threaded through the district. It's important that we have reasons for people to come, and the whale song concept is an art installation. It will be the largest of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. It is a tourism draw card, and these things have been huge overseas. Marco has been, and Marco, who's running for the Paraparaumu Community Board, has been pushing this for quite a few years now, and I'm hopeful that he will get there with it. It's in the current consent process with the Wellington Company, but with no constraints. that would be the thing that I think that can give us a fantastic return from an economic development perspective with regards to visitor attraction and helping our businesses on the Kapiti Coast.
Okay, Liz.
Okay, look, I absolutely endorse what Martin says about whale song. I'm a big fan of that too, but rather than talk about that again, I'll talk about another project, which is the tracks and trails for Kapiti. We have an amazing network of tracks and trails which can be extended significantly. And I would love to see accommodation huts built along those tracks and trails, because there's 2 or 3 days worth of experience there for people. And those huts would not only bring in an income, but they could also be used in the event that we have a disaster and we need some emergency housing, because they would be off-grid, self-contained. And I think it's, it would be really a fantastic investment for council. Another way to bring in other revenue is to rent out those huts, because where else are you going to stay on the tracks and trails? You've got a captive audience there, if you like, captive market, I should say, and it's no different than the trails, the famous trails you see down the South Island. So let's extend our tracks and trails network, build some huts, and watch the tourists flock in, because they will.
Okay, Rob.
Oh, wow. When I read this question, it was like, why are we asking councillors to think about how they can spend more of your money when there isn't any money? But I suppose the one thing that I would love is for all the people living in our region to actually have a home over their heads, because we still have a housing crisis. We have lots of development occurring, but it's not for those people who can't afford it. And unfortunately, the government have moved away from emergency housing, and they've moved away from trying to meet the needs of the community. So if I could print the kind of money that Liz needs to pay the CE exorbitant sums, I would put it into housing so that everyone has a house over their home, so that every child knows that they're going to be warm and dry when they go to school.
Okay, Kim.
That's quite interesting what's come up so far. I get last, so I get to pick and choose. Rob, if we build lots of houses, how's the infrastructure going to cope? Liz?
There's no money problem here. We've got all the money in the world.
Yeah,
The scenario.
but you're only talking about building the houses, not the infrastructure.
That's in part 2 of my
That's
speech.
quite important. If we actually had some strategic investments that give us return on that investment, then that would solve our debt problem. If we had unlimited constraints, pay back our entire debt, then we've got a method to move forward and free up our rates. But currently, that's a hypothetical question. So we've just got to go on the fact that, we just need to invest in projects that do give us return on that investment. Thank you.
Okay, let's get on to hard-hitting question number 3. A Māori constituency for GWRC, Te Upuka e Te Ika a Maui, is being established for the 2025 election alongside with the Kapiti Coast Māori Ward. How would you ensure meaningful collaboration with mana whenua and support Māori leadership in regional planning and delivery services? And I'll just refresh that list again. Liz, you get to go first.
Look, I think this is not just a question about Maori, it's a question about how does KCDC interact with regional council and the other councils in our area. So it's a much wider issue than this. We do need to have really good relationships within our region, and I think there's huge room for improvement now. We've certainly, my interactions with Greater Wellington have not been flash. I've interacted with them on trying to get better transport for our area here, and that's of particular concern to Maori, especially, given our Maori population in Otaki, which is very underserved with transport. And, we just get told, oh, well, we can't afford it, sorry. If there's no transport, then you need transport. Well, why don't you move to another area? That was the response from the chair of Greater Wellington. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement in relationships across the board with regional council. We certainly don't get a good deal with them either on support for our tourism and so on, and economic development. So yeah, that's it from me.
Okay, Janet.
I'm tossing up between answering this question or going into bat for our regional council. I'll try and do both if I'm quick. So, we will have a new Māori ward councillor. They're going to have a job on their hands, making sure that the aspirations not just of our iwi but also of our mātāwaka are recognised at the council table. We already have really good relationships with local iwi in terms of our service delivery. I won't go too much into that. All that's available on our website. We just refreshed our partnership. In terms of regional council, I can actually tie those two questions into one. Right now, the desilting of the Waikanae River is happening. That happened in consultation with mana whenua partners, which made sure there was a much better result. We're getting new trains to Otaki. I'm really grateful for that, and I think that needs to be mentioned. I think Liz was talking about an on-demand bus to Horo, which didn't stack up because there just aren't enough people there.
Okay, Rob.
Well, I'll change direction and say I agree with everything that Liz said. Yep, no, she's still breathing. The reality is that we need to ensure that we resource those people who we are asking to represent. So if that's iwi, hapu, if it's the regional council, they still need to be resourced. But one of the things the regional council definitely could do better is sit around the council table from time to time and make sure that there is more connection between our councillors and that body of elected representatives. But we just need to make sure that we resource the people who need to make the decisions. We make sure that they have the full source of information, because there is a lot of information that occurs in council, and often it's held quite tightly. So we need to make sure that there's some clear direction from the new mayor or whoever the mayor is, and that people understand the trajectory and the decisions that need to be made, so people can be informed before decision making occurs.
Okay, Martin.
Righto. Is that working okay?
No, it sounds like you've unplugged yourself.
You're broken it.
Hello, hello. Hey, fabulous. Look, I'll stick to the question, but I will say unitary council. But I'll stick to the question. Continue the way that we've been going. Last term in the mana whenua Māori iwi space, wasn't flash. But this triennium, we've moved forward, I think, in leaps and bounds. Te whakaminanga o Kapiti, I'm the council representative on that grouping, is a 30-year relationship with our local mana whenua, and it is unique in the country. It's one of the longest standing relationships in the country, and that's been renewed this year, which is absolutely fantastic. We have a very good operational relationship with all three of our iwi. That's an important aspect to all this as well, because as we're talking about, we are legislated to involve mana whenua in those decision processes, and they're legislated through the RMA and the Māori ward. The Māori ward is the democratic process with regards to Māori representation at the KCDC table. So to me, it was an absolute no-brainer to support that. So we're coming along in leaps and strides, and the idea is to keep that momentum moving forward.
Okay, Kim.
Oh, I thought I'd miss out. Yeah, I actually support the integration with the Māori wards. As I pointed out several times at the markets, the Māori ward allows representation of Māori directly, even though there is 13.4% of Māori in the district. At least they've got the 10% at the table. Along with their partnerships with Greater Wellington, they do have significantly better representation. With regards to the work that Greater Wellington is actually doing, they have successfully secured 3 trains that will run right through to Palmerston North, not just stopping at Otaki. That will be significant. They're electric trains, so once again, it is healthy for the environment. The They will disconnect from the electric line at Waikanai, continue on battery through to Palmerston North, return, connect back on the line and recharge on their trip into Wellington. Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for closing statements. And my random listener order sheet just went offline. Okay. Rob, you get to go first.
Kia ora, thank you very much. Look, I think the most important thing is that democracy is at work here and everyone is getting an opportunity to listen to your candidates. And we obviously agree on some things and we disagree on others. I think I bring a different kind of leadership that is in touch with the people of Kapiti, that understands that we are really struggling to pay our rates and that there are some kinds of decisions that we need to kick for touch. We need to make sure that we are listening as a council, not just tick box exercising, but just make sure that we're actually taking on board what our community says, what their priorities are, and then putting that into action. We need to make sure that where decision making is taking place, it is open and transparent so that we're letting you know how we're coming to those decisions. So if you want a council that will actually work for you, then all I'm asking you to do is tick 1 for McCann, because he can.
Okay, Kim.
Hoping I was going last again.
Made sure that didn't happen.
Thanks. Yeah, unlike most of the candidates here, I don't have a backup option. I'm 100% committed, same as Janet is. There's no backing down. However, unlike all the other candidates here, I have not sat in the council causing the rates issue that we've got currently. If you want to sit with the same, unfortunately, I can't help you. I'm here for change. You can see from my comments tonight, I've got policies that are positive in reducing rates and moving forward. I'm not interested in sitting exactly where we are because that's going nowhere. Thank you very much. Vote Kim Hobson.
Okay, Martin.
Thank you. Look, the first thing I would say is that we're very fortunate in Kapiti. We have 87 people that have put their hands up. So the first thing I would ask you to do is to do your homework. Look at the candidates that have put themselves forward, look at their backgrounds and see who's going to serve you well for the coming 3 years. Because to coin a phrase, being a councillor, she's a big job. And it's a lot to get your head around. But it is accumulated knowledge, and I stand by the decisions that I have made, and I'm proud to have been a part of bringing the organisation, KCDC, from a place of contention and adversary to a place of positive culture, support and strong delivery. Now, this was achieved in a large part by the moving on of the previous CEO and being involved in the employment of our current CEO. Good foundation work has also been done in many areas this term, and I look forward to moving things forward in a positive and constructive manner. So, I'm here today to ask for your consideration to be the next Mayor of Kapiti. I would like the opportunity to work this business at the next level, and make no mistakes. As Mayor, you can lead and drive the organisation as was shown during our last long-term plan and the corresponding large rates increase. I get things done. Your needs have and will be my focus. Vote number 1 for Halliday as the next Mayor of the Kapiti Coast. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for It's in the Ballot for putting on this evening as well. Much appreciated.
Thank you for that. Next up, Liz.
Look, the next 3 years are going to be really tough. We have got some massive issues in front of us to solve. And this is going to require really strong leadership and really good sound financial management. It's really easy for people to stand up here and say, I'm going to keep the rates to 3%, or I'm going to have 0 rates increase, or whatever. You find when you get round the table, it's not that easy. It really isn't. Council is a very complex organisation that does a myriad of things. And I think really what I would like to do is work with the community, hence my little slogan, let's work together. We have to solve this together, not be at loggerheads with each other as we've been through this last wee while. And that's understandable because we realise that the rates increases have been pretty tough, and that outcome wasn't one that any of us were happy with. We're just as unhappy about it as the community is, believe it or not. And we have a chance to fix that because our long-term plan needs to be redone. So that projection of 7% rates increases is not going to continue on. We need to go back to basics, work together and figure out what's affordable, how can we reduce our debt, and how can we make sure our core services are still sustainable. So that's the challenge, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, and Janet.
Well, what an interesting evening it's been. Thank you so much to It's in the Ballot, to my fellow candidates, and to everybody who's listening online or will listen online, and to our in-house audience tonight who've been so interested, warm and receptive. It does seem that the biggest issue for this campaign is rates. That's what people seem to be talking about. We had an unprecedented rates rise of 17% in the next long-term plan. That wasn't something any of us wanted. And to some extent, it was unavoidable with the cancellation of the Three Waters program. And it was no different across the country. It is not because this council doesn't care. It is not because we're spending willy-nilly. It's because we're in really tough times. And the only person sitting up here right now who has the proven leadership to take us through the next 3 years is Janet Holbrook. So please consider giving me your vote. Thank you.
Okay, and just some housekeeping before we go. When it comes to voting at this election, you'll be using single transferable vote. And because this is a single member position, your second, third and fourth preferences are equally as important in deciding who has that majority when it comes to getting the mayoral change. So when it comes to voting, make sure you sit in a rank on your voting paper, as many candidates as you prefer to be in there, because the final candidate who will win on the last iteration will have at least 50% of the vote plus one. And that's in order to gain the mayoral chains, or was it when you got a one position using the single transferable voting system. Also, to note that It's in the Ballot Productions is an independent non-profit organisation funded on small dollar donations, and that's how we keep the things like the lights on and the petrol in the car and all that sort of thing. Today's cost to run the show, now this could change because I do believe the venue owner is here. Today's current venue hire cost us $340, which is 10 hours at $34 an hour for Kapiti Impact Hub. Very reasonable, and I recommend you consider that as your venue hire. $14 a day is for our Starlink internet connection, $31 a day for our restreaming hosting services, and $100 for the fuel allowance. We only had one car to come here, not two, so that's the reason why there's only one in the budget, and a $50 budget for refreshments for the crew to make this work. So if you'd like to sit there and help It's in the Ballot Productions with help bring these shows to there, you can head to our website, it'sintheballot.nz, and click on donate here. You can also head to Eventbrite and use the donation without admission option to put in a koha into running the show. You can also donate at our Give a Little page, and if you also want to do this and you're watching online, you can always pay us in live. Well, not pay us. I'll say we're live. You can always do a super chat, which can go to the show, or if you're watching this afterwards, you can also do a super thanks as part of the YouTube partnership program. So that's one way to help keep the lights on, fuel in the tank. It's in the ballot. Now, just before we go, my lovely thank you to our candidates for giving us a full, vibrant health and doing that.
Thank you,
feels
Sam.
good, especially after the rockiness of Wellington City Council yesterday. I'd like to thank the audience for picking us out and giving us a good set of views and a good lot of participation here. I'm pretty sure all of you will go and watch the show at a later point. Can I also sit there and thank Henry and Nick for being the question host, Henry for doing the desk and the cameras, and also for Stacey for being our remote editor, and for Laura for doing the remote editing earlier on today. You all help make these shows happen. It's not easy trying to pull it off. As I do say, we wanted more crew numbers. Unfortunately, we're following the Christopher Luxon budget cuts until the bare bones model, but we're at least delivering better results. Also, if you want to join us tomorrow, we've got more Wellington City Council fun with the Tawa Community Board at 3 o'clock, the Takapū Northern Ward at 4 p.m, and we've got the Poratawa constituency at 7 p.m. for Greater Wellington Regional Council. We'll see you then and have a good evening.